This is acting as an art form. Take 5.
Bob, how are you feeling today? Do you want to get up on your feet and do some takes? Yes, I know being an actor can be hard work, but we've talked about this, and you know the spiritual and artistic enlightenment that you get from it makes it all worthwhile. And you know, Bub, sometimes you have to go out and do the hard miles, even if it's raining and you just don't feel like it. Tell you what, why don't you rest a little more and we can talk about it when you're ready. Up to this point, episodes 1 through 4 have mostly been focused on work you can do at home, but at some point, every actor has to be brave, get up on their feet, and start the rehearsal process. I say rehearsal process because whether you're working alone at home, saying your lines out loud, working with an acting partner, or even working with a director, this particular art form is always a work in progress. It's all a work in progress. There is no endpoint for actors working on a role. This is an existential journey of creation. In my experience, the more you do, the more elevated the work and the higher the performance level. Even the best performances in front of a live audience are only a step toward the sublime. Each take is there and then it's gone, and it will never ever happen exactly like that again. That's creation. That's the magic of it all. And for any audience member who sees it, it now belongs to them. I've directed maybe 70 or 80 plays, live shows, performances, and when I was young I acted in probably 24 more, some of which were written by the best playwrights in history: Arthur Miller, Strindberg, Tennessee Williams, Pinter, Eugene O'Neill. Each and every time the process and performance was a journey, not a destination. This is also true for commercials, short film, feature films, or TV series that I've directed with hundreds and hundreds of actors. And in our theater, when we put on full-length plays with long runs, after each and every performance, I would give the actors notes on their character and on that world. These specific notes were not possible before that specific performance, and the performance level always took a step up the next night. This would allow us to elevate the entire performance and inform the characters and the world in a new way. In the old days, the life of the play from the first table read to closing night would take somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 months. That means the actors would be living in the character's skin for that entire length of time. We give birth to the character grows, becomes mature, and finally passes away on closing night, never to be seen again in that particular incarnation. This workflow is the workflow in my classes and in my book, no matter how much time we have to prepare a role, even if it's for an audition. And with a reliable set of tools, every actor can follow this particular workflow. The other way is to do your best to memorize the dialogue, show up, and phone in the performance, as one of my mentors like to say, and then go off and party somewhere. And that is not exactly what I call high art. In this episode, we're going to give you an opportunity to get on your feet. In the previous episode, I said we would present one of the scenes from my book and take a look at the various worlds that go along with that scene. After you've taken a look at the scene and chosen a character, then we can review some of the tools from the previous episodes and start to go to work on that scene. For this exercise, I really suggest that you find a friend or an acting partner to read the other character's lines opposite you, or even play that character. But if you can't, that's okay too, because I've given you apps in the previous episodes that you can record the other character's lines into, and then that will leave a gap for your own lines. Or if you don't have one of those apps, you can just use your phone and record the lines on the phone. That way you can rehearse as much as you want simply by playing back the lines of the other character. All of our actors use this technique when they're getting ready for our in-person classes, or when they're trying to do a self-tape and they need to memorize the lines. Okay, so here we go. It's time to get up on your feet and do some work. This is a copy of Scene 1 from my book. I'm going to put it up here on the screen, and you can pause the video if you like and record both of the characters' lines. Take as much time as you need and get a clean recording. Or you can email us at the link below and I will send you a PDF of the scene. If you do have a book, you'll find Scene 1 on page 8. Now, if you've watched episode 3, you know that our mantra is you can inform these scenes with 3 completely different worlds. This will create 3 completely different sets of characters for you to choose from using the same dialogue from this Scene 1. I've directed this scene many times with many different actors, and we've even had a couple actors produce this scene for their reel on location. This particular scene is great for actors to get a feel for how to inform their characters with different worlds. If this is confusing to you, go back and watch episode 3 where I cover this in detail, and there's a link to that episode below. Let's now take a look at the 3 log lines, plots, and character descriptions of each of the various worlds, and I will guarantee that you'll see how different these characters can be when we inform them with all of this unique backstory. And if you do have a book, you can find these completed workflow templates on page 82. So take a look at each of these worlds as I put them up on the screen and read them out loud, and see which of these characters really speaks to you. And then see if you can think of one of your friends or another actor who can play the character opposite you. And let's go to work. Again, this particular scene is scene 1, and the title is The Brains and the Muscle. Okay, don't forget that this is information for only world 1, and there are going to be 2 more worlds for you to choose from for this particular set of dialogue in this particular scene. I have to say one more thing about how the book is written. Whenever we mention a character, we're going to say his, her, or him, her, because each of these characters can be played by either a man or a woman. So simply pick the character that best fits your artistic sensibilities. All right, let's take a look at the log line. A rough and tumble vice cop, Lee, and his, her trusted snitch, Harper, must find a missing girl before it's too late. When we read log lines, a lot of the times they are extremely short and just give us a thumbnail for what's going to happen in the particular scene as it applies to the world that the scene comes from. Then later on in the workflow template, we will have further information in a plot or a synopsis, or sometimes I'll use those words interchangeably for the purposes of this book. Okay, here's the plot for World 1. Lee has been trying to solve a missing person case for an 18-year-old Hispanic female, Maria, who is the daughter of a single mother, Lupe. Maria has gone missing. Lee got to know Lupe when she was working as a patrol cop, and they are now friends. Maria grew up in a gang-ridden area of the city and lives at home with Lupe. Because Maria is 18, the police will not do anything about the fact that she has gone missing. Maria has been missing for 2 days and has never done this before. Lupe believes Maria has been kidnapped by a gang member and is worried that she has been forced into the sex trade or worse. Lee loves both Lupe and Maria and is desperate to find her before it's too late. Lee has asked Harper to check with her local gang relationships to see if she can get any information on Maria. This is extremely dangerous, as Harper is not a gang member and has no business asking about their affairs. If the gang suspects Harper is helping the police, they will kill him or her for sure. Okay, let's take a look at the character descriptions for both Harper and Lee. Lee is a big city vice detective who worked her way up from being a patrol cop. Lee is willing to take risks and does not always play by the book if it means getting an edge on the bad guys. Lee is very logical, intelligent, and a great analytical problem solver, which makes him or her the perfect detective. Let's take a look at Harper's character description. Harper is a recovering drug addict with a heart of gold, but like all drug addicts, it is an ongoing battle to stay on the straight and narrow and remain sober. Because of Harper's sordid past, she has a relationship with the criminal underbelly of the big city and knows many of the city's undesirables and gang members. Finally, I think it's always a good idea to mention what kind of location the scene would take place in. And for this particular scene, I think any dark, dingy, out-of-the-way exterior or interior will work just fine. Okay, that's all the information I'm going to provide you with for World 1. But again, a completed workflow template is in the book, and I'll put up the blank workflow template here so you can review some of the tools on that template. Okay, let's move on to World 2, and I'll read the log line to get started. Lee and Harper are big-time, shady, but legitimate business people who run an enormous investment and venture capital firm. It is up to the actor to make the choice about which area of business this firm is located in. But Lee and Harper are also involved in all kinds of moral malfeasance and are active in the criminal underworld of the city. Okay, let's take a look at the plot for World 2. Lee is about to close an enormous deal that will mean hundreds of millions of dollars to the investment firm. However, something major has gone wrong with the other company involved, and there are now uncertainties around the deal. Lee and Harper suspect foul play by one of the companies they compete with, and Harper has been engaging in unscrupulous acts to try to find out which company this is. Okay, as you can see, some of the plots and synopsis are longer than others, and remember, this is only a place to start. You're going to be using your imagination to expand these worlds and expand the plot and the synopsis, and anything you choose is fine as long as it's consistent with the 3 C's. Alright, let's read the character descriptions and backgrounds for Lee and Harper in World 2. Lee considers herself a family person first and foremost. Lee believes that she is responsible for the well-being of not only her immediate blood relatives, but also all of the employees and investors that rely on their business. Lee was born into extreme wealth, and while she has worked very hard, being a member of the true 1% has instilled a sense of invincibility and a touch of expectation of privilege. Alright, let's read the Harper description for world number 2. While Harper went to the same college as Lee, she attended on a scholarship based on her athletic prowess. Harper did not attend college until serving 4 years in the military, so Harper is a little older than Lee. Harper comes from a lower middle class background, is a little cynical, and possesses a witty, wry sense of humor. Okay, let's take a look at the location I suggest in the book to give you a feel for what this particular world might look like. For this particular world, a nice high-end office would be the best place for this scene to take place. The bigger and more impressive, the better. Now you can always vary the location, but remember what we're trying to do is give us a visual for what the tone of this particular world feels like. And if you remember, compared to World 1, this is a very different tone and feel than some dark, dingy alley in the hood someplace. Okay, that's all the information for world number 2. Let's take a look at world number 3 and see which of these worlds you want to play and which of the characters most speaks to your artistic sensibilities. Here's the logline for world number 3. Lee and Harper are both high-level CIA analysts who are trying to figure out the details of what they believe to be an imminent, significant threat against the United States. Okay, let's look at the plot and synopsis for world number 3. There has been an assassination attempt in a foreign country on a CIA asset, and while the asset escaped, she was targeted because they stumbled on a terror threat against the United States and were identified by the enemy. Let's do the location next because I think the location should be completely different than the other 2 worlds. Let's look in the book and see what I wrote. A covert feeling interior or remote exterior during the day, like a big public park or somewhere where the CIA agents can be completely alone and isolated. Okay, finally let's read the character descriptions for Harper and Lee in this particular world, world number 3. Lee is a Caltech graduate with a background in computer science, hacking, and online espionage. Lee believes the United States isn't always playing by the rules, but still believes the United States offers the best chance for a free life anywhere in the world. Lee has spent most of the last few years living in the virtual reality of the computer world and has very little in the way of real-world boots-on-the-ground experience. All right, let's look at Harper. Harper has the exact opposite skill set and experience of Lee and has been a field agent for most of her career. While technically proficient, Harper's real gift is reading people and being able to think his or her way out of any situation the world might present. Okay, that's all of the information that I'm going to give you for the 3 various worlds. But take a look at the workflow template and use your imagination and let's see which of those characters is best. So what do you think, bub? Do you want to play Lee or Harper? I know it's a tough choice. I know you have a lot of range and you feel like you can play either character. I know all of the worlds are rich with intrigue. All right, you think about it and get back to me. Okay, that's it for episode 5. Like, subscribe, and leave me a comment on what you want to see in episode 6. And if you live in LA or you're going to be in LA and you want to work with me and receive direction and get up on your feet and attend a class in person, just send me an email at the link below and I'm going to give a free book of acting as an art form to anybody who attends class and saw the YouTube channel.